Okay, so today we're doing part 2 in the final turn. Well, okay. 53A. No student starfish. Patrick joins Mrs. Puff boating school and caught his antics. My hair is 24 and 25. And some other jokes like the fight. But some of Patrick's jerky actions did bother me, even though he didn't make up for it in the end. And Mrs. Puff saying that, and then she turns into that. 53B clams! Mr. Krabs loses his $1 million in a clam fishing accident and ends up going crazy. My favorite part was the gags, like the blue lipstick, the fourth wall breaks, some of the funny visuals, Mr. Krabs saying get out, and many more. Molly's part was very good, and it was really weird and unfunny and boring. This is an underrated one. 54 SpongeBob. Ugh. We see a tale of prehistoric SpongeBob, Squidward, and Patrick discovering the fire. My part was the atmosphere. This atmosphere was really good, and the way they used the made-up language is pretty good, since you can figure out what they're saying. This is an underrated one. I don't know why people don't like this one. My least favorite part is the lack of words and plot, but that is just a minor inconvenience. 54P, SpongeBob BC, before comedy. These were some successful segments. Patchy and Potty argue over which is better, which is the better time period. The future or the past. My highlight was, of course, the When the World Collide song. The worst part was Patchy getting eaten by a song. And there are other great jokes in this episode. I think they're better than the SpongeBob segments. So I think as a whole, it's a likable listening. Actually, one of the best of the season. Episode 55B, midlife fine. 55A, the Great Snail Race. SpongeBob over abuses Gary to get into a petty competition with Squidward. My favorite was Patrick standing on Squidward's shoulders. SpongeBob again, he's being a jerk to Gary, and nothing was really funny. And you don't. Sandy's cameo was just out of place. I mean, she does kick his, but it's out of place since he doesn't feel the pain that Gary felt. Definitely, actually, one of the worst of the series. 55B, midlife sensation. Mr. Krabs has a midlife crisis, so he goes to have a wild night out with SpongeBob and Patrick. Are you feeling it now, Mr. Krabs? And Coral. This is Mr. Krabs' outburst. He did go a little too mean on the boys. But still, likable listening. 56A, Born Again Krabs. After getting a deal with the Flying Dutchman, Mr. Krabs becomes generous. My favorite was the hospital scenes. Worst part was Mr. Krabs. Even though I did also like sort of standing up for Mr. Krabs, there weren't many other jokes in this episode, and Mr. Krabs was being a jerk, and it kind of was boring at some parts. And he sells SpongeBob souls for 62 cents. And his apology is really forced, and he doesn't feel like he means it. Mixed episode. Not bad, though. Phew! 56B. I had an accident. After a traumatic accident, SpongeBob says he's going to stay inside forever. That was the second half. The first part was the first half. The first half was really boring and unfunny. Except for not until 4. Do it again. I was looking, and Squirtle winning to get spanked. But the second half was really funny with the twist ending. Chip, Penny, and Hughes napkin, the indoor song. That's Not Crazy Talked, and many more. 57A, Krabbyland. Mr. Krabs builds a terrible, unsafe amusement park for kids. What was the Lima Beans joke? Part was Mr. Krabs once again. He's being a jerk to the children, and I don't feel satisfied by his punishment of eating lima beans. This is a much better episode. 57B, the camping episode. SpongeBob, Patrick, and Squidward camp outside their houses. My part was the campfire song, and some other jokes like Squidward prancing around. The delicious has landed, and many more. So it was the fillery joke of the bear attacking Squidward. It was filler, but the jokes that they tell were nice, even in that part. 58A, missing identity. SpongeBob loses his identity. It was the jokes that they tell, like the joke. The idea of someone stealing SpongeBob's identity and robbing a bank with it. Hey, SpongeBob. Or it was the lack of plot and SpongeBob. He was kind of being a jerk, and there was a lack of plot. 58, Plankton's Army. 58B, Plankton's Army. Plankton forms an army out of his hillbilly family. My heart was the suspense and jokes. Like Sheldon, but part was the stereotypes. This got knocked off my top 10 because of those stereotypes. 59A, 59 SpongeBob, the sponge who could fly. SpongeBob dreams of flying with the jellyfish, but when he ends up flying, everyone as favors from it. Part was Cannonball taking Xan, SpongeBob getting Joe Mahmoud. Part was the character, except for SpongeBob. Everybody's taking advantage of SpongeBob. And it's pretty much unfunny, but the songs were pretty good too. Definitely a very light mixed episode. 59P, the lost episode. Patchy searches for the lost episode. Highlight were the jokes, like the kids singing, Patchy's neighbors, and many more. It was the lock cycles. They were really cheap. I think overall this is a mixed episode. 68, SpongeBob meets the Stranglers. SpongeBob gets threatened by the Tattletale Strangler, who hides a butter, who is the Strangler. My part was the cleats. Worst part was the beginning. They were pretty. There was a little filler at the beginning. This was a really good episode. Okay, this is the last episode of season 3 and previously SpongeBob. 60B, pranks a lot. SpongeBob and Patrick pretend to be ghosts to prank everyone in Bikini Bottoms. The way they scare people and Toast. My favorite was the prank montage except for Toast. This was a really good episode. We SpongeBob and Patrick getting their satisfied punishment. And that was every episode of SpongeBob Season 3 reviewed. Now let's move on to... Okay, so now let's move on to some statistics. So in Season 3, we had 32 likable listenings, 3 mixed episodes, and 2 trash episodes. As you can see, this was actually the worst season yet, but I feel like it has the best good episodes of any season. But the worst bad and mixed episodes. Just like how season 1 had the worst good episodes, the best and trash episode, and season 2 had pretty average good episodes, pretty average mixed episodes, and pretty average bad episodes. Now on to some notes. Too many gimmick episodes, like all the specials, and Nick hyped Plankton's Army and missing identity for some reason. A bunch of gross Krabby Patties, like a nasty patty, born again crabs, and many more. Not a lot of Plankton. That's weird. Some of the most notable things were Plankton's Army, the Krusty Krab raining on video, and the algae always greener. And that was pretty much it. So, I think, as you can see, SpongeBob Season 3 was a likable listening of a season. This season was my second favorite season, with season 2 being my favorite, and season 1 being my least favorite so far, and season 3 reading right in the middle. See ya in my top, and my bottom 5 and top 10. Good, everybody. Have a good day.